Okay, so in the last video I said that this video is going to be us on the dyno. I lied. Sorry. This is actually going to be basically a video about a checklist on what you should look over your car before getting dyno tuned. Just like a prep. We were going to do this and not film it, but I figured might as well. But so this video is going to post, it's going to be Friday now when this is posting. So while you're watching this, go over and check either of our IGs. We'll throw it up on the screen real quick. We're going to be at P-Tuning doing dyno things. So yeah, first thing is I pulled out the plugs I had in here because when I had Josh and Scott here tuning it, it was super rich, and you can see how black these guys are.
Yep.
So these plugs are not showing any real. They were pretty new. Not showing any real bad signs of wear on like the actual porcelain part of these things. But I'm gonna change them out anyways because they're one step colder. Right? Mm-hmm. These are the same plugs that Xavier is running, so I'm just literally copying him right now.
This a BK 8s. And then I know if you're doing E85,
you want to go even colder.
Yeah, you just get the BK 9s.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had 7s in before, which is OEM.
Yeah. So OEM, if you're turbocharged, it's definitely safe to go one step colder. But yeah, like Xavier was saying, if you're going E85, another step colder is even better. But I'm not doing E85 yet, so I'll just roll these in there. But before we throw these in there, we're actually going to gap them, because that is also really important.
Yep.
Have the right plugs and gap your plugs. Gapping the right plugs is...
I think what is the tighter the gap, the richer it runs. That's what I was reading online.
Yeah, it sounds right. Maybe.
So I think if I'm not mistaken, it should be, like I was basing off of Evan's tuning checklist. So it's like 0.18 inches to like 0.28.
Is the correct gapping for...
Yeah, anything between. I did 0.18.
All right, well I have a feeler gauge and let me go here.
Feeling comfortable with the tool now?
Yes, super straightforward.
So I got this tool off of eBay, I think, but
super simple.
Yeah, it's a piece of aluminum with a Jesus.
Oh, that's so loud. I guess it's really quiet in here because you have the compressor running. It's a block of aluminum. Just thread the spark plug in one side. You just tighten down this bolt. We did have to sand the top of the bolt to actually make it flush and flat because it had like some weird thing on it.
Yeah, it was putting like an indent on the head of the spark plug.
Yeah. We don't have the tool to gap it back out. We only have the tool to make it a tighter gap. So we're just going very slow. And what I'm basically doing is taking the 0.019 of an inch feeler gauge, tightening it down on that, and then checking it, pulling it off and checking it just a little bit at a time, and then making sure that the 0.018 of an inch feeler gauge definitely slides in and out with no resistance. So we're gonna be right in between probably like 0.018 and 0.019, which will give us right in the range of, what do you say?
0.018
to 0.028.
Yeah, big ass threshold, but.
So we're gonna be on the very bottom of that threshold, but that's should be better.
Yeah, you're gonna be running richer. I mean, you'll just change the spark plugs. I think like I do mine every 1,500 miles because they get pretty black.
Yeah, you just redid yours, right?
Mm-hmm. And I actually took too long because my car is running like crap.
Yeah. Tell those motherfuckers out there saying that Xavier doesn't work on his own car. Lying.
You know, just because you don't see me behind
he's out here behind the scenes working on the S2000.
Which will be coming soon.
So, again, this is the 19 feeler gauge. kind of gets stuck on a little bit. It might go a little tighter, but the 18 feeler gauge slides right in there. So that's just about where we want it. They weren't crazy. They weren't like tons off. They were probably in the top of that range, I would say, maybe. You want to make sure you're measuring it with the bolt off of the head, obviously. Yeah. Because it can still have some pressure on it and it'll give you a false reading. Yeah, so that 19's tight right now. The 18 slides in there real easy. So that's where we want to be. This is the last of all 4 of these bad boys. So we're good to go. Thank you, Xavier, for bringing this tool in. Something I don't even own myself.
Not yet. Yours is in the mail.
So I'm just hand tightening all these boys in there just to get them down there. And then we're going to hit them with the whatever this thing's called.
Fancy torque wrench.
Torque wrench. I got it set to 20 foot-pounds. Xavier's saying that the Helms manual is at 18, but people are saying that's a little too loose. So we're gonna go to 20 foot-pounds.
As long as you're not tightening them down by the wrath of God, you're safe.
Yeah, you don't wanna be buying a new head.
Because whenever you can use a fancy torque wrench like this guy, why not?
Exactly. Look for reasons to use this thing. Oh, great. Come on. It's gonna be one of those days. Okay. Now the next thing I would be doing would be pulling out off my valve cover and using this fancy little doodad.
Valve lash tool.
To adjust your valve lash. I think you're supposed to do it like every, what, like 40 or 60,000 miles or something?
I don't know, but we gotta do it more often because turbo.
Yeah. On a stock S2000, I think they say every 40 or 60, I don't know, something around that. Look it up. But yeah, it's a good thing to be checking. We're not gonna get into all that today because we already have a full video on it on our channel, which will bloop up over here. So I'm not gonna go over all that today. But the next thing that I would check over, if you are turbocharged, you definitely wanna make sure you have no boost leaks. You don't wanna be on the dyno worrying about boost leaks. Josh actually just came recently and redid my intercooler piping. It looks pretty much the same, but he actually tightened everything up. Because before I was actually hitting on the inside of here, and now I have a whole lot of range of motion before it actually even gets close. And then I also go around and check all of your vacuum lines. And one other thing I should definitely be checking is how close and how hot are my vacuum lines getting. Because a lot of my vacuum lines over here run kind of close to my manifold. They're not that close, but they're held in with like a little clamp, so they're not going anywhere. But
it's kind of hard to show you guys because it's really tight down there.
It's down there, but it's probably like good 4 inches at the closest space from the manifold. It might be worth getting one of the heat shields that you run your vacuum lines through. And I'll just go ahead and do that. I'll order one from Turn 14 tonight.
So you actually picked some up on at Advanced Auto.
Yeah, they even have them.
Yeah, that's what I did.
We get them deals on Turn 14 though, so.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you're not leaking any type of oil, any type of coolant.
Fluid is a big one. They will not put your car on a dyno if you're leaking fluid.
Nope. Lift up your car. That's actually why I had it on the lift in the first place. Lift up your car and check all of your drive shaft bolts, all of your axle bolts. If they have locking washer on them, make sure they're actually holding and they're tight. If not, make sure you have some type of Loctite or something on them, because you don't want your drive chain to be coming apart. If you've been driving your car, it's probably okay. It would still be a good idea to check it. But this thing I have not been driving, so it's not like I've been doing a bunch of
another thing I learned too,
driving and having it being fine.
For people that like, say for instance you had a freshly built engine, just use conventional oil, put a little bit of mileage on it, and then you can switch out to, I think they switch out to synthetic after.
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean some people, I was confused when I did mine.
If you're doing synthetic, I would probably stick with synthetic even for like a break-in.
Well, break-in you don't want synthetic because it's too lubed. Like when you got a freshly built engine,
really?
You want it to wear in a little bit. So some people do break-in oil, but I was researching you could get away with conventional oil.
Yeah, so I got full synthetic in this thing already, but
1040.
I don't remember.
You might want to put it in the 1040 weight.
All right, I'll do that. It might be 1030 right now. Other than that, it's always a good idea to send your tuner a whole list of your entire build. Like, is your valve train completely stock? Is your head ported? Tell them what turbo you have. Everything, just as much information. Don't tell them I got a carbon fiber hood. Who cares? Put all the information that's actually like mechanical that would be useful to them, that they can just reference and say, oh, okay, you have this Borg Warner turbo with this hot side, this cold side, this core. So they at least have some knowledge before you get there. Don't just come there with like a sheet of stuff. Seriously last thing, because I know I said last thing last time with the wastegate thing, but check your fuel pressure. Fuel pressure is definitely very important. You want to at least make sure you have a minimum fuel pressure and that it's staying constant, not dipping down and stuff like that. And if you have a fuel filter, check your filter, make sure it's not clogged. But Xavier was just saying, if you're running E85, fuel pressure is super important.
Yep.
So you really have to be a stickler about that and consult your tuner before going to them and see what pressure they think you should at least have as a minimum. Make sure it's running at that constantly, not dipping down at certain points.
So make sure you're not leaking any fuel.
And make sure you're not leaking fuel. Another thing, do not leak any fluids. Make sure that's all handled before you go to your tuner. If you need to, just hit them up and be like, hey, look, I need to postpone for a week or two. Most of them are okay doing that unless you got some famous tuner that's crazy. But so that's going to conclude this whole episode. Thanks to everybody for buying the shirts. I got the S30 shirt on again. Xavier has the same skull shirt on today. I feel like we've been wearing this as like a uniform every single time.
This is legit the uniform now.
But thank you guys, yeah, because this is like definitely the best way to support us. Because like YouTube stuff is for car guys, especially when we're at 80,000 subs. We're not famous. So.
Yeah, it's a little slow right now, but like things will pick up. So we really do appreciate the people that are sticking around watching.
Yeah. We're not obviously doing this as a full-time job, but it does help us continue with this because it is like a full-time job. Because like, I know enough time.
And once you get this off the dyno, I don't know, you doing any more carbon fiber stuff? Actually, no, we have a lot more carbon fiber stuff coming. For those that are sticking around.
Side skirts. And then we got a whole S2000 series coming up. And then we also have the Street Z, which is a full carbon fiber Z too. We got plenty of stuff.
Yeah, so
and then
just stick around.
The future project, which is,
2021.
All right, see you on the dyno.